So let's just admit it. How many of us have those mornings where you wake up and before you even step out of bed, you feel this kind of knot of stress?
Oh, definitely. Or maybe just a wave of overwhelm, like you're already behind.
Exactly, like you're caught in this loop of negativity. It's a feeling I think most of us know pretty intimately.
It really is. And it's so easy to fall into that trap, isn't it? Thinking our emotions are just these unpredictable forces.
Like a bad weather or something.
Yeah, just random patterns we have to just sort of endure.
Right. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at insights from the source material on master your emotions.
Hmm.
And this work, it offers a really powerful perspective, doesn't it? That we actually have far more agency over our inner world than we maybe think.
Way more. So our mission here in this deep dive is really to unpack the core lessons, the actionable steps it presents.
Yeah, to understand not just what our emotions are, but like how they actually work.
And crucially, how we can cultivate a sense of control. Or maybe influence is a better word.
Influence, yeah. Because it's definitely not about, suppressing feelings or just pretending everything's okay.
No, absolutely not. It's more about understanding the mechanics of our emotional landscape.
And finding ways to navigate it with a bit more skill,
Okay.
right? Transforming negativity, building some resilience.
Exactly. And what's fascinating, I think, is that the source suggests these aren't like super complex psychological theories you need years of therapy for.
Right, it's not presented that way.
No, they're framed as pretty simple, practical ways you can start shifting how you feel, like right away.
Paving a path toward a more balanced, maybe genuinely happier life. It sounds almost like learning the operating system for your own emotions.
That's a great way to put it. And the fundamental insight, the starting point, is that
Yeah.
your emotions aren't just random. They're not just happening to you. They're
They're
shaped. Yeah, actively shaped
Yeah.
by internal factors. And critically, your thoughts are huge here, but also external things like your environment. And this source material, it breaks it down into these specific kind of interconnected lessons, each with practical steps you can actually take.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Starting with what feels like the absolute foundation. This idea that your thoughts shape your emotions.
This one is, yeah, it's maybe the most powerful takeaway. The core idea is simple but profound.
Yeah.
Your emotional reaction isn't just about the situation itself.
It's about how you think about it.
Exactly.
Mm.
How you interpret it, your internal story, your narrative, that's the filter.
The source uses a really clear analogy here, doesn't it? Thinking of your mind less like a camera, just, recording reality.
Right, and more like a mirror. It reflects what you put in front of it, which is your thoughts.
But then it adds another layer, like your thoughts are also the glasses you're wearing.
Yes, exactly. Are you putting on those dark, kind of smudged lenses?
Then everything looks gloomy.
Right. Everything feels negative, heavy, or are you choosing clearer lenses, maybe even slightly rose-tinted ones?
It's the same situation outside.
But your experience of it is totally different.
And the example they give makes this so concrete. Like, imagine you're running late for a meeting.
Okay. Standard stressful situation.
Right. If your immediate thought is, oh man, I'm so incompetent, I always mess up, my boss will be furious, how does that feel?
Awful. Like a rush of anxiety, maybe shame, frustration. Your body probably tenses up.
Totally. But if you can catch that thought and consciously shift it to something like, okay, deep breath, I'm going to be late, I'll apologize sincerely when I get there, and then just focus on being effective for the rest of the meeting.
The feeling changes, doesn't it? The situation hasn't changed one bit. You're still late.
Still late, but you move towards maybe calmness, focus,
Okay.
a sense of being able to handle it.
Exactly. So the action step here is, well, it's fundamental, but it does take practice.
Like building a muscle.
Totally. It's becoming really aware of those first, often automatic negative thoughts. You got to catch them.
Be a thought detective.
And then consciously practice replacing them. Maybe not with overly positive stuff if that feels fake, but just more neutral or constructive thoughts.
So instead of, I can't do this, you practice like, what's one small thing I can try?
Precisely. It's about consistently challenging that negative inner voice. You're training your brain over time.
That makes so much sense. Okay, shifting gears a bit. The source brings up a connection we often forget, I think, this idea that your body is a hidden mood booster.
Ah, yes, the mind-body connection. It's incredibly powerful, this feedback loop between your physical state and your emotional state.
It's not just that feeling sad makes you slump.
Right. The act of slumping can actually contribute to feeling sadder. Simple physical changes send surprisingly strong signals to your brain.
And it points out that observation, which is pretty obvious when you think about it. When you're feeling low or tired, what's your posture usually like?
Yeah, shoulders kind of roll forward, maybe your chest collapses a bit. You might even feel physically heavier.
And the insight here is that you can actually use this connection proactively. You can flip the script.
Exactly. By deliberately changing your physical posture, you can start to influence how you feel inside.
Like just standing up straight, opening your chest.
Yeah. Or even forcing a smile for, say, 30 seconds. It sounds a bit silly, maybe.
A little bit.
But these aren't just like external acts. They send real physiological messages back to your brain, signaling confidence or positivity. And that can actually start to shift your mood.
And what about movement? The source mentions that too.
Oh, huge. Feeling stuck, overwhelmed, kind of mentally sluggish.
Yeah.
The suggestion is simple. Quick stretch break, step outside for just 5 minutes, put on some music, and just, shake it out for a minute.
Literally shaking off the negativity.
Physical action can genuinely help move that stagnant emotional energy. It gets things flowing again.
So the practical step here is wonderfully direct. Use your body.
Consciously use it. Stand taller. Move around regularly, especially if you sit a lot. Take those deep breaths. That's physical too. Even activate your facial muscles into a smile.
These aren't like magic cures, right?
No, not instant fixes for deep issues. But they are powerful, immediate tools you have right now to signal your whole system towards a more positive state. Keep that body moving, keep it open.
I love how tangible that is. Something you can do in this very moment. Okay, so moving from thoughts in the body, let's tackle the harder stuff. The source has a big lesson on letting go of negative emotions.
Right, and this uses another strong analogy. Holding on to negative emotions, anger, resentment, sadness, is like carrying this heavy backpack around constantly.
Yeah. You feel the weight.
It drains your energy, restricts your movement, it colors everything you experience.
And the source is clear, isn't it? That letting go isn't about pretending. It's not denial.
Absolutely not suppression. It's not saying, oh, I don't feel angry, when you clearly do.
So what is it then?
It's more about acknowledging the feeling, understanding maybe why it's there, what message it has, which we'll get to later.
Okay.
And then making a conscious choice not to let that feeling dominate your present moment or dictate your future actions.
Okay. The example they use helps. Like, if someone hurts you or wrongs you.
Yeah. You feel anger, hurt, sadness. Totally natural, totally valid. But letting go in this context isn't saying, oh, that didn't matter, or I'm totally over it instantly.
It's deciding what not to keep replaying it.
Exactly. Not to dwell on it, turning it over and over until it consumes you. It often involves forgiveness.
Which is hard.
It can be very hard.
Like,
But the source frames it as something you do primarily for your own peace, for your own freedom from that heavy backpack of resentment, not necessarily for the other person.
right, for your own release. So the action steps. How do you actually do that?
They focus on actively processing the feelings, not bottling them up, but also not letting them just run wild indefinitely.
So things like deep breathing.
Yes, deep breathing to calm the nervous system right in the moment. Journaling is powerful. Getting the feelings out of your head and onto paper can help you understand them.
Talking it through.
Absolutely. Talking to a trusted friend, a mentor, a therapist, someone who can listen without judgment. These are all ways to help move the emotion through you.
Acknowledging its message, but then releasing its grip.
It's an active process. Psychological release, you could call it.
That makes sense. Process. Don't ignore. Okay, next up. The source pulls our attention outward. It reminds us that our external world plays a role too, with the lesson. Your environment shapes your emotions.
This is one of those things we probably know intuitively, right? But maybe we don't give it enough conscious weight.
Like the physical spaces where you spend your time, your home, your desk, at work. They actually impact your energy.
Significantly. Your mood, your sense of calm, even your feeling of being in control.
Think about the contrast the source describes. Trying to relax or focus when you're surrounded by clutter, mess, maybe noise.
Yeah, it's hard. It feels chaotic, draining.
Versus walking into a space that's clean, organized, maybe feels cozy or has things you like in it.
The feeling is totally different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your environment is constantly feeding you sensory information, and that directly affects your nervous system.
And the source really emphasizes you don't need to do some expensive, huge makeover.
No, not at all. It's about small, simple, intentional changes.
Okay, so the action steps are things like,
Well, making a conscious effort to keep your main spaces reasonably tidy and organized. whatever that means for you.
Reducing the visual noise.
Exactly. And maybe adding a few small things that genuinely bring you a little spark of joy, a photo you love, a healthy plant, a comfy cushion.
And maybe removing stuff too.
Yes. Actively identifying and removing things that stress you out or just feel like clutter. It's about curating your space so it supports the kind of emotional state you want to feel.
Okay, that's a really practical external lever we can pull. Now, let's swing back to internal practices. The source highlights one it almost calls a superpower: gratitude.
Ah, yes, gratitude. The source really positions this as one of those direct, most powerful ways to shift your emotional baseline towards happiness and peace.
And its power is in redirection.
Precisely. It instantly redirects your focus. When you are consciously thinking about what you're grateful for, you are, by definition, not focusing on what's wrong, what's missing, what's bothering you.
And again, it's not about pretending problems don't exist.
Not at all. It's an active practice. Noticing, appreciating the positive things, big or small, that are already in your life. Focusing on what you do have rather than what you don't.
It acts like a mental reset almost.
Yeah, like hitting a refresh button for your perspective. And done consistently, it actually trains your brain.
How so?
It builds a bias towards noticing the good. You literally start to rewire your brain to scan for positives more readily. It changes your default view over time.
That's powerful. And the action step is so simple.
Deceptively simple. Make gratitude a daily habit. Maybe start your day or end it by consciously thinking of, say, 3 specific things you're genuinely grateful for.
And it doesn't have to be huge stuff.
No, it could be supportive friends or good health, sure. But it could just as easily be, a really good cup of coffee this morning, a comfortable bed, a moment of sunshine through the window.
The key is just doing it regularly.
Consistency. That's where the magic happens with gratitude.
That simple practice really can feel like a lift. Okay, building on that idea of shifting perspective, the next lesson is about something related: reframing any situation.
Right. Because let's face it, life throws curveballs. Challenges are inevitable.
Definitely.
This lesson is all about recognizing that while you often can't control the event itself, you have enormous power over how you interpret that event. Reframing is that conscious shift in perspective.
So instead of that knee-jerk reaction, oh no, this is terrible, this is the worst.
You pause. You intentionally ask a different question. Maybe, okay, this is really difficult right now, but what could I possibly learn from this?
Or even, is there any other way to look at this situation?
Exactly. And that shift, it's transformative because it moves you out of feeling like a victim, feeling helpless.
And towards finding some agency, some opportunity.
Yes. It helps turn potential setbacks into, well, maybe stepping stones for growth because your focus shifts away from just the problem towards possible solutions or lessons hidden within it.
The example in the source, losing a job, is a tough one, but illustrates it well.
Yeah, the initial feeling is likely shock, fear, stress. Totally understandable.
But reframing allows you to start asking, okay, could this be an opportunity? Maybe to find a job that's actually a better fit, or to learn a new skill.
Or maybe even, finally pursuing that passion project you've always put on the back burner.
It doesn't make the hardship disappear.
Not at all. It acknowledges the difficulty, but it broadens your view to see beyond just the immediate pain or loss. It looks for the bigger picture, the potential upside.
So the action steps involve like building that pause button into how you react.
Absolutely. When something negative happens, consciously pause before you spiral. Ask yourself, okay, what's one positive thing, no matter how tiny, I could take from this?
Viewing failures differently too.
Yes. Seeing them not as proof you're inadequate, but as valuable feedback, information for next time. And consciously directing your mental energy towards finding solutions and learning, instead of just dwelling on how bad things are.
Finding the lesson or the path forward.
Okay? And all of this, the reframing, the gratitude, the awareness, it all seems to circle back to consistency, which feels like the perfect lead-in to the next lesson. Habits build emotional stability.
Exactly. This lesson really drives home the point that emotional well-being isn't about some single magical fix. It's not one big event.
It's built day by day.
Day by day through the small, consistent actions you take. Your positive habits are literally the foundation for managing your emotions more effectively.
The source uses that analogy of habits being like tiny building blocks, right?
Yeah. Each positive habit you consistently practice adds another solid block to your emotional foundation, making you more resilient, less easily knocked over by emotional storms.
Precisely. Think about those foundational habits, things like getting some regular exercise, making sure you get enough sleep, maybe incorporating a simple mindfulness or meditation practice.
These aren't just like nice to haves for your physical health.
No, they are fundamental building blocks for emotional regulation and resilience too. Exercise boosts mood, reduces stress hormones, sleep regulates everything, including mood. Meditation trains focus, calms the nervous system.
And crucially, the source emphasizes you don't need to like overhaul your entire life starting tomorrow.
Thank goodness. Because that just feels overwhelming and sets you up for failure,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
The key, it suggests, is to start small. Almost ridiculously small sometimes.
Like the examples they give, a 10-minute walk.
Yeah, a 10-minute brisk walk.
Uh,
Or committing to just drinking one full glass of water first thing in the morning. Or maybe just setting your bedtime alarm 15 minutes earlier than you normally would.
these tiny steps, they actually work.
Because they build momentum. They build self-efficacy, that feeling of, hey, I actually did the thing I said I would do, and done consistently over time. They genuinely contribute to feeling calmer, more energetic, more balanced.
So the action step is about identifying maybe just one or two small positive habits.
And committing to doing them as consistently as possible. It's not about being perfect every single day.
It's about the effort, building those foundational blocks.
Exactly, brick by brick.
And that brings us to what feels like maybe the ultimate shift in perspective in this source material, this idea that emotions are guides, not enemies.
This is such a fundamental reframe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Moving away from seeing difficult emotions, sadness, anger, anxiety as just problems we need to get rid of or suppress.
And instead viewing them as messengers.
Valuable messengers, yeah. Providing crucial information about what's going on inside you, what your needs might be. They're less like random inconvenience storms.
And more like an inner compass.
That's a great way to think about it, an inner compass pointing towards something that needs your attention.
The examples the source uses are really insightful here. Like sadness isn't just bad.
Right. It could be a signal that you actually need rest or comfort or maybe connection with others.
And anger, often seen as purely negative.
Could be telling you that a boundary has been violated
Yeah.
or that something in your life isn't aligned with your values and maybe needs to change.
What about anxiety? That feels like a big one for many people.
Yeah. And while it's definitely uncomfortable, anxiety could be your system's way of saying, hey, pay attention. Something important is coming up. Something requires preparation or focus. It's an activation signal.
So the power comes from learning to actually listen to these messages.
Listen, yes, but without letting the feeling completely take over the steering wheel, you know?
Distinguishing the signal from the noise.
Exactly. Understanding the information the emotion is carrying without getting swept away by the intensity of the feeling itself.
Okay, so the action steps here flow directly from that, instead of just reacting to the feeling.
You pause. You get curious. You ask, okay, what is this feeling trying to tell me right now? What information might it hold?
Good.
And then, based on that potential message, you ask, what constructive action could I take? Maybe the sadness means you need to reach out to a friend. Maybe the anger means you need to assert a boundary respectfully. Maybe the anxiety means you need to prepare more thoroughly.
Using the feelings as data, as tools for decision-making and action.
Yeah. Rather than letting them just dictate your uncontrolled reactions, they become tools for navigation. Your allies even, not just overwhelming forces to be fought.
Wow. Okay, so bringing all these insights, all these practical steps together, the real magic, as the source really stresses, it happens when you actually do them right, when you apply them.
Absolutely. These aren't just interesting ideas to think about. They're presented as simple, actionable techniques.
Things you can weave into your daily life.
Exactly. From noticing your thoughts and consciously using your body posture.
To actively processing and releasing those difficult feelings, tidying up your workspace.
Doing that daily gratitude practice, learning to reframe challenges.
Building those small, consistent, positive habits. And finally, learning to listen to your emotions as guides.
It's a whole toolkit.
It really is. And the emphasis throughout seems crystal clear. This is a journey. It's about practice. It's not about reaching some state of, like, emotional perfection.
Definitely not. You won't get it right every time. You'll still feel difficult things.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's human.
The progress comes from just starting small, showing up consistently, and being a bit kinder to yourself in the process.
Well said.
So this deep dive into the source material, it really hammers home this empowering idea, doesn't it? We are not powerless victims of our emotions.
Not at all. We have this incredible capacity for agency. Through understanding how they work, through consciously changing our habits through learning to process and release negativity.
The path to maybe mastering your emotions, or at least having a better relationship with them, isn't about achieving some kind of unfeeling Zen state.
No, it's about building a more skilled, more compassionate relationship with your own inner world, taking those small, consistent steps every day.
To cultivate resilience, find more balance, and maybe experience more genuine peace along the way.
Exactly.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with a thought to maybe sit with. It comes right from the heart of this perspective we've been exploring.
Okay.
If your emotions truly are guides, if they're offering you valuable information, what is one feeling that you tend to push away the most? The one you resist or ignore?
That's a potent question.
And then consider this. What might that specific feeling, if you actually chose to listen to its message just for a moment, instead of fighting the feeling itself, what might it be trying to tell you about what you truly need or what needs to change in your life?
Just listening to the message, not getting lost in the static.
Yeah. How could simply tuning into that message rather than resisting the feeling potentially change your very next step?